This Bass Pro Shops Night Race DFS 2025 edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog. Underdog's got a brand new offer for new customers. Play just $5 and get $50 in bonus funds when you sign up with our promo code RACESGPN.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag.
My man.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
We want to thank you tonight for these mighty machines that you brought before us. Thank you for the Dodges and the Toyotas. Thank you for the Fords. Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa. In Jesus' name, boogity, boogity, boogity.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome into another episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez, and today we just wrapped up, actually just before we actually hit record, with Truck Series qualifying. Congratulations to Jake Garcia on the pole with Corey Heim right in his hip pocket. But this will be an interesting start to this race, Cody, as all these playoff drivers are pretty much occupying the top 10 spots in this truck race tonight.
Yeah, that's kind of how it tends to go. It seems like even the Cup Series last couple of weeks, you've had, at least most of the top 10, 12 are playoff guys, and then some of the other ones sprinkled back in there. But it's kind of how we see it start for the beginning of these races. Heim up there, with Garcia, probably will make pretty quick work of him and maybe run away early. So we'll have to see if anybody else has something for him. We talked a lot yesterday about Riggs and Smith. They're 7th and 8th place, something like that. So they've got a little bit of work to do. So it'll be interesting. But don't forget, that is tonight, Thursday night. So if you listen to this on Friday, hopefully all your bets already cashed. But
indeed. And so if you're listening to this on Friday, we're going to throw some bonus Xfinity in for you as well. Obviously, this is the, Cup DFS episode. But as we're wont to do, especially we're waiting for Underdog to get the projections up for the Cup race, we'll just give you some Xfinity bonuses and we'll stack you with some Xfinity plays that we like in this particular weekend. So it is, of course, the Bristol Motor Speedway, the fastest half mile, the world's last, greatest, beautifulest Coliseum. And there's a lot of fun night races all around and a lot of action to be had, playoff races all around as well. So we are talking about the cutoff race now for the Cup Series, the second playoff race for the Xfinity Series, and the cutoff race, or is it one more for the trucks?
This is the first Xfinity, and there's one more for
I
for
can't
trucks.
remember what I ate for breakfast.
You failed your test, Rod. We studied this so hard yesterday, and it's, again, hard to keep track of. But yeah, cutoff race for Cup, first Xfinity playoff race, and second truck playoff race.
There you go. So that is what's happening, and that is
so it's 1, 2, 3 in a completely different order. 1 for Xfinity, 2 for trucks, 3 for Cup.
And again, it makes it interesting because a lot of these guys all have different strategies, especially with the playoff drivers. And we talked a little bit about it in the Cup Series episode, and of course the Xfinity and Truck Series. But look, at a particular race like this, at a track like this, the cream usually rises to the top, and these guys that run well at Bristol will run well at Bristol, and it's not very hard to identify those guys either. It could be a chalky race. could be an interesting situation, especially for DFS purposes, because we're probably not going to see too many outside playoff drivers kind of find their way into the top 10. So, I mean, we did talk about a couple long shots yesterday, but I mean, by and large, it's going to be the playoff drivers occupying most of the spots in the top 10. So it's pick your poison, especially at the top of the board.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we'll get into it. It'll be interesting, when we talk about the Cup Series sides of things, the last few races here at Bristol have been one driver. I mean, and really that driver was Kyle Larson for the last two at least. But, you get out front, you have the track position, and you just don't look back. I think he led over 400 laps and maybe even both of them. So I have to go back and look, but they're bringing what they hope is a better tire this week. We'll see how that actually goes. If that works that way or not, but yeah, it'll be interesting to.
They're bringing bicycle tires to that one as well. But all right, let me before we start talking more racing, let me tell you about our merch store. We got 25% off of everything in the merch store because football's back, baby. In fact, I know the trucks are on the track tonight, but there is a Thursday night football game as well. Double screen it, kids. This is why you buy two screens for nights like this. Plus, you could be sporting one of your favorite SGP or, of course, Racing Gambling Podcast merch while you're watching. Take 25% off of that with promo code FOOTBALL. Make sure to check it out right now. You got great hoodies, great hats, great mugs. We got the refs our terror shirt, the race officials are terror shirts, all that great stuff from the merch store. So go take 25% off of everything with promo code FOOTBALL. All right, Cody. Well, like we said, it will be a full action weekend as all three series are on the track this week. And I figure we should probably start with some Xfinity bonus plays for everybody, some Xfinity DFS picks, because why the hell not? It's our show. We could do it if we want to. So let's break it down. Sure. It is the Food City 300 set for 300 laps around this 0.533 mile paved track, 159.90 miles around the Bristol Motor Speedway. That's a lot of laps in an Xfinity race, Cody, to be led. And we've seen in the Cup Series, at least, that people tend to lead a lot of laps in this race.
Yeah, for all three races, even tonight's truck race, there's a lot of laps compared to a lot of tracks. It is while it races more like an intermediate, and even in Cup they use the intermediate package, it's only a half-mile track. So the laps turn off very quickly. It's a lot of fast laps. There's a lot of laps led that are out there to be had. So you're going to have to pick those guys that are going to run up front, that are going to get those dominator points. Because if you don't have a guy and he does lead 450 laps, it's going to be a rough day for you in DFS.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too, identifying which one of these guys. Obviously, qualifying is going to play a huge, huge part in this after. So, obviously, we're going to give you our plays as we always do before qualifying. But, like, if we were to say to you, and if we were to do a truck series episode for DFS, I don't know that either one of us would have been on Jake Garcia, but with him on the pole, I know that Heim's probably going to get around.
Yeah,
but Heim hasn't done well in this track.
Yeah, I think Heim will make quick worse. Yeah, but Heim's done. He hasn't finished well, but he has led laps. So they just finished qualifying as we were literally logging on, so I haven't looked at the complete starting order and built any lineups yet. But especially with Smith and Majeski and Riggs starting a little farther back, you're probably going to want to play Heim. But track position is going to be very important in all three series. The Cup Series more than the other two, because we tend to see it be that way most weeks. But yeah, I mean, even if it's a guy that we don't talk about, that's one of the bigger named guys that starts up front in the Cup Series, you're gonna have to take a good hard look at him. And I'll even say Kyle Larson's not going to be the guy I talk about. But if he does start on the pole, everybody's going to play him. So you're not going to play him in everything. But you're not playing Kyle Larson.
You may be disappointed, but I'll talk about why.
Okay. Why do I always do that? I need to look at these.
It's okay, but because we don't want to paint ourselves with, we don't want to make ourselves feel like we have to do something.
Yeah. I like the surprise of what Rod's pick's going to be. And then
it's true. It's okay. Don't worry about it, man. We're doing this for a long time. I think we can, safely say we're good. All right. Speaking of a long time, we've done this show ever since our beginning, and we've always done this where we've given you our high price driver, our mid-tier driver, and our favorite value driver for the slate. And we will do that for the Xfinity race, Cody. Where are we starting with our high price drivers?
Yeah, let's check in with the chat real quick. Marcus checking in, says first. Hi.
Marcus.
Hi, Marcus. Always good to see you. He wants to know everybody's pick to win is. He's always trying to get the engagement in the YouTube, so we love that. He, of course, predicts Christopher Bell is going to win and throws in the championship. So he's really going there for it there. Go Fets Luigi talking Bush, Logano, Cindric, worse thens. Underdog doesn't have lines out yet, so stay tuned to the YouTube. We'll have that stuff later in the weekend. But yeah,
Logano for sure.
Bush has been pretty bad here.
Bush,
Logano's been really bad
I might
here.
argue with you.
Bush hasn't been good here in the next gen really though much.
It depends
so
on what his
I don't know.
projection
And
is.
Cindric, yeah, Cindric, you probably won't get a worse than projection on. I'm gonna guess,
Better than
but
10.
That's okay. Yeah, that's which I'm not gonna take. So John Little says my pre-Q DFS picks: Dinger, Haley, that Jones boy, and maybe Ryan Priest. So you like that? And Marcus saying JGR is very good at Bristol. We'll definitely talk about that today. Well, we talk about JGR a lot all the time, especially here lately. So, all right, Rod, headed to the top of the board for the Xfinity Series race. Stop me if you've heard this before.
Stop.
Connor Zilic, $12,500. I don't care what they price him at. I don't care if he's the only guy you play in your lineup. How do you not play him? I mean, it's been well documented how great he has been here lately. And not just winning all these races, but he's also led a lot of laps. He's also got a lot of fastest laps, and he's just having massive, massive DFS days. Last week, gave him out. He went to Gateway in that New Way 200 Sauce by Blues Hog, 92.8 points. He started on the pole, 39 fastest laps, led 121 laps, massive DFS day. Portland, 84.1 points. That's pretty good at a road course. Just 49.4 the week before, but that was Daytona, I do believe, right? So even though technically he was that Daytona,
Yeah, that he did.
Yeah, that was. You know, technically he started on the pole. Technically he won. The only 12 laps led in there as they had the driver change and all that stuff. So, but Watkins Glen 78 points, Iowa 70 points, 60.7 points, 80.2 points, a nice 69.7 points, 80 points. 52.3 points, 66 point, like every single week. It's just a lot of points for him, and they're going to keep pricing him up. He's 12,500. Remember last week we were remarking how he was cheaper than Justin Allgaier. It was like, what are they doing? Well, they fixed that. He's now $1,000 more than Justin Allgaier is. So they're literally making you pay for it. But he went from 11,000 last week to 12,500 this week. But I don't know how you don't keep playing him. Figure it out below him because he's going to qualify well. He does each and every single week. He's going to get to the front quickly. He does each and every single week. He's going to lead a lot of laps. He does each and every single week. He's going to get fastest laps. He does each and every single week. I mean, there's no other than everybody's probably going to play him. So be different in some places, right? But I think you have to play Connor Zilic once again. And you might be getting bored of me just continually harping on this, but that's what you got to do. So Connor Zilic 12,500 is a must play in Xfinity.
Yeah, and as much as you want to try to get away from that cash games, you can't expose yourself to not having something, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the danger you play if you want to get cute. Like if you really try to do a zero Zilic type of a lineup because you think it's cute.
Yeah. And that's some GPP stuff, right? Like you want to go take down a big contest. You have to be different in those. That's where you don't play Zilic. Maybe he gets wrecked on lap one and just has a bunch of negative points. And, 70, 80, 90% of people in that contest have him. Now you've put yourself in that small percentage of people that don't have him. That's the positions you don't want to play him in. But even in the big DFS, like GPP stuff, you're probably going to have him in order to win and hit the rest of the guys right. Because the last 10, 11, 12 weeks in a row, that's been the case. So, again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And Connor Zilic is literally broke and still doesn't need to be fixed.
He puts you in such a weird position in DFS because you say, as DFS people that we sit here and talk about this, it's like you always try to get the clicks to be sexy and to give out all the hot picks, but you can't do that with Connor Zilic because he is the hot and sexy pick, and you can't go away from it as much as people want to say, well, that's not easy. It's easy to give out Connor Zilic. Yeah, it is. He makes our job easy, 100%. Easy. So we're going to take that.
Yeah. And it needs to be stated because it is that good of a play. So you got to play him, pay the price. That's fine. Nick Fortune checking in says, good afternoon, Hot Rod and Sir Sassy Cody. He made sure to capitalize that. He doesn't want that nickname to go away. Fun fact, I don't think it's fun, but he thinks it's fun. He beat me last week in fantasy football by half a point. But not only did he beat me by half a point, Rod, he did it in our Pirate League where you get to steal anybody on the roster if you win. So I lost, and instead of winning, keeping CD Lamb and probably getting Justin Jefferson from him, I lost, and now didn't get Justin Jefferson, and I lost CD Lamb. R.I.P. That's a tough way to start the season. So yeah, Nick Fortune, you got me there. I'll be out to make my revenge.
Well, I don't love that, but I do love Jesse Love. I talked about him on the betting episode yesterday. In that, look, the only difference between playing this and playing Zilich is this is where you are going to have to pivot to try to fit something different into a GPP. Because if Zilich does wreck and 95% of the field loses out, and you have Jesse Love as your high price driver, because Jesse Love is $10,000, you would have to get super creative to fit both Zilich and Love in your lineup and to continue on down the road. You would have to literally get everybody that's $5,000 and then some. You could probably try. There's a couple of people down there that I would suggest, but this is one of those ones where if you truly want a very pivotal or pivot on a Zilich play, this is it. Jesse Love has finished inside of the top 10. In fact, he's finished inside of the top 5 and one spot outside of the top 5 in both of his career starts in the Xfinity Series on this track. 4th place in 2024. Pardon me. And then 6th place in 2025. In both cases, though, he actually gained some positions too. In 2024, started 10th, finished 4th. 2025, started 13th and finished 6th. So far this season, he has averaged 38.1 fantasy points per race. Has Jesse Love got you 54 or 56 last week, 34 the week before, 50, 30, 58, 32, 46, minus 31. Unfortunately, in the Pit Boss Food Max 250. But 42, 43, 53, some very, very solid days for young Jesse Love in that number 2 machine. And, you know, the thing about it is that for Jesse Love, he's just so good, but he's in a field of drivers that are so much better right now. And that's the problem, is that I feel like if there was no Connor Zilich, maybe if Justin Allgaier was retired and, you know, he would be one of those guys that is jockeying for the win each and every week, like he did at Daytona, right? He won his race in Daytona. He's had a couple of second place finishes, one at Pocono, one at Iowa, a 7th at Texas, go back all the way to Darlington. That was an 11th place finish there, but you know, some really good runs out of Jesse Love. 5th place last week at Gateway, and he started 18th in that race as well. 5th at Dover. So for Jesse Love, I mean, we know he's good and we know that car is fast. And if you're going to take a step down from Connor Zilich in a couple of your GPPs, which I highly suggest you shouldn't leave yourself vulnerable to him having a bad day. But yeah, I mean, this is your multi-entry GPP play for Jesse Love at $10,000. You can be in the top 5 and maybe even start outside of the top 10 and work his way up and gain you a few spots in the process.
Yeah, ideally he doesn't start well, and you could actually play both of them. You know, I think I haven't completely filled it out as we go here, but I think the 6 drivers we're giving out, you'd be able to squeeze them all in there because you're saving some money in some of the other segments. So you could get it in if he starts worse and works his way forward. Otherwise, if he does start well, you maybe play him without the Zilich angle and hope he does well. And he's done well at this track before. And I don't think he's probably going to be a super popular play because he's not been real sexy lately, right? Like he's been around, but like you said, it's been some other guys that have been better than him. So I do like him to be just kind of set yourself apart.
And it's a good DFS play. I like his top 5 bet for sure too. Talked about that. Well, maybe his to win bet, but even still, like I like all of that. And I think he's a good DFS play, especially this week. So, all right, we'll be back with more of our favorite DFS plays for this race. But first, let me tell you about our friends over at MyBookie. We're brought to you by MyBookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to bet on football and everything else. If you've listened to the show before, you know I have put that to the test. Their prop builder is second to none. Their motto is bet on anything, anywhere, anytime. How about Kabaddi? How about Highlight? All kinds of great stuff over there. Easy deposit and lightning fast payout using cryptocurrency. I know that I say all the time that I give you some fun sports to watch, but you know which one you're going to watch, especially this weekend. It is the NFL. We're moving lines out here, folks. Baltimore taking on Cleveland. Earlier in the week, I gave it out to you as -11. Well, now it's -12. And you know what? I'll still take the Ravens -12. They're pissed off. I can't believe that they lost. They can't believe that they lost this last weekend to the Bills. They are going to just throttle the Browns. I think 12 might be even generous. So -12, Baltimore Ravens, -110 is the line over on MyBookie. Head to mybookie.ag. Promo code SGPN for a 100% bet back bonus up to $500 for new customers. That's mybookie.ag. Promo code SGPN. NFL is back, baby. That's right. Last season, Rhythm was 76-66 against the spread and 22-19 on over-unders. Plus, they really shined on player props. Talk about the Bills. How about Josh Allen? 15-8 on Josh Allen passing props last year, 23% ROI. Rhythm also has MLB, WNBA, golf, and college football. Plus, they've introduced a leaderboard with weekly cash prizes just for tracking your bets in the app. Track 5 bets of the same type from any model you build, and you could win $1,000. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. Yes, indeed. I know that it's -12, but would you take like Baltimore at -20 at this point? Because it's going to be a blood.
Oof. See, I haven't that game I haven't dug into just yet, so I'm not ready to make my official prediction. 12 in an NF or AFC North game. That's a lot of points, and I think that Cleveland showcased that last week, but Baltimore is going to be pissed off. They're going to want to take their wrath out on them. Joe Flacco, revenge spot a little bit maybe, but yeah, and that game's in Baltimore, I do believe, right? So,
no.
yeah, I need to look.
I think it's Baltimore.
It's in Cleveland. Oh, I don't know. I got to look more into it before I can give an official answer, Rod. It's a big number in a.
Is that one of the games you're previewing, or is that mine?
I can't remember who has that.
I don't know.
I don't. I've dug into a couple of games, but I know that I haven't got to that one. Let's see. It is.
It's okay. I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm
sure one of us will do it. I don't even see it on the sheet, which is probably not good because it should be on the sheet.
You know what is on the sheet? Our mid-tier drivers for this Xfinity Series race. And so we take a step down to save you money because we gave you 2 highly expensive drivers at the top.
Yeah, we did. So got to save money. I'm actually going toward the bottom side of this mid-tier for a guy that I love and has been doing really well for us really all season, and it's Dean Thompson. You can get him at $6,900,
Nice.
Rod. Falling asleep on me like I did to you yet. In the Truck Series last year, he was very boom or bust. It was either you were getting a good day from him or you're getting a horrible day from him. Still some bad days sprinkled in, -1 point at Portland. That's a road course. -1 at Iowa. Shit happens, right? If you go way back to Nashville, -6.6. But really, he just kind of delivers you good, solid points each and every week. And it's nothing overly fancy. Like last week, he started 30th. Ended up scoring a 16th place finish, so kind of worked his way through the field, had a good day. Even a couple of weeks ago, that's Daytona, a couple of road courses in there as well. But you go back, starts 16th, finishes 10th, starts 20th at Dover, finishes 16th. That was a 31-point day. That's a great day. Starts 35th, finishes 18th, starts 33rd, finishes 14th. So sort of hope he does start bad because then he's going to get you more points in these place differentials because that's what he kind of does on a week-to-week basis. But he's been running really well for you. 16th place last week at Portland, or at Worldwide Technology, St. Louis, rather. The 16th place at Dover. Words are hard. I really like that because obviously that's kind of the closest comp and the track we were just at recently. And again, started 20th place, so didn't even start that far back, but just had a solid, good day for you here at Bristol. Started in 17th, finished in 10th. That was a great day back in the spring for him. He's getting it done week in and week out, really, for Mr. Dean Thompson, a guy we've kind of continued to bring up time and time again. So give me Dean Thompson at a very nice $6,900.
Yeah, and for Dean Thompson too, first of all, the stash plays always. But second of all, for him, he runs the race that he needs to run. He knows that he's not out there to win the race each and every week. He just needs top 10s and solid top 15 finishes. And
I think that's where we've really seen him mature, because in the trucks, it just seemed like he was balls to the wall all the time. And to the wall was kind of the key phrase in there, because that's where he was ending up a lot, right? But now he is more, he's stepped back a little bit. He's minding his P's and Q's. He's checking off all the boxes throughout the day. And he's not just laying it all out there and wrecking all the time. He's getting what he can get, and really been outperforming where that car has typically performed in previous years. So, yeah, I think he's done a great job of kind of maturing in that area and just delivering us good, solid results. And that's what we need. We don't need him to go win this race. He's not going to win this race. Just go out and move from 20th to 10th or whatever the case might be. Have a strong day, and he'll pay off at this price.
Speaking of winning races, the next guy on my list wants to win one so he can move himself from below the cut line to moving on to the next round. May not happen, but at least I'm hoping for a good day out of Harrison Burton. Harrison Burton comes in at $7,500. He's my mid-tier driver. And look, here's the thing about Harrison Burton, right? Barely made it into the playoffs because of just a horrendous day by both Burtons, to be honest with you. And honestly, he barely made it in to hang on. He is the last guy that made it in that's not Austin Hill that lost all of his playoff points. So Harrison Burton, 3 below the cut line right now as it stands playoffs wise. And, you know, like we said, these playoff guys tend to run around the front, and they tend to be part of the top 10 of the mix by the end of the day. And I think that's Harrison Burton needs that kind of a day and better, obviously. And he needs to beat some of these other playoff guys if he wants to stay in contention, because it's a very, very loaded field at the top with Connor Zilic just dominating everybody with 59 points. Justin Allgaier with 30, Sam Mayer 11. So this is where it starts to get into the tic-tac territory for a guy like Harrison Burton. Love +8, Jones +8, Smith +4, Sanchez +1, and Taylor Gray right there hovering with Carson Kvapil on the playoff bubble line with nothing, no points. But man, how much would you need Harrison Burton to have a good day, right? He definitely needs it, and I think he's going to get there. This track has not, I mean, it's been well. It's done well for him when he's a Gibbs racer in the early or the late 20s. 2019, he finished 10th here. 2020, 4th, 7th in the next 3 races. The spring race wasn't good to him. He started 10th and ended up finishing 26th in this 25 car. But we've also talked about Harrison Burton as that fringe top 10 guy pretty much every single week. He's got 9 top 10s on the season. And as I always parrot to you, and I always tell you, do the sorting, right? Not just by salary, but by fantasy points per race. You will find that of the full-time drivers that have done all of the races, Harrison Burton actually winds up inside of the top 6 in that one. It goes Connor Zilic, Justin Allgaier, Jesse Love, Sam Mayer, Brendan Poole, and then Harrison Burton with 32.2 fantasy points per race. So he is a guy that consistently scores you points no matter what track style, no matter what happening or what's going on around him. He's consistently scoring you at least 32 points per race, $7,500. I think that's a really good return on your investment there. Last week, bad week, started 6th, finished 22nd, only got you 4 points, but the week before that, 37, 19th, 41, 54, 27, 30, 19, 32. So you got a floor of something that you may not want, but a ceiling of at least somewhere in the 35s to 37 range. And I think that's a comfortable and a good price for or a good return on $7,500, especially for a playoff guy who needs all the points he can get so he can assure himself a chance to go in the next round.
Yeah, and like TK said, it has been a good year for Harrison. Good to see him in that drag that AM Racing team into the playoffs, which is an amazing year considering last year for them. Yeah, it's really shown when they've put good drivers in there. Brett Moffitt a couple of years ago had a great season, and then Harrison this season has had a great season as well. But yeah, you like having a Cup guy that's now back down in the Xfinity Series, kind of a veteran of the sport at this point in time, even though he's still a pretty young guy. At a track like Bristol, he knows how to handle this place. His dad was really good at this place as well, so knows kind of some of the tricks and keys to it. He's a guy I've been on a lot this year. Not as much lately, but he's a playoff guy, so it's worked out for us a lot. So I really like Harrison this week.
Indeed. All right. Well, we've given you some expensive folks. Let's give you our value folks. Cody, who is our value driver for this slate?
Yeah, so I'm going to jump way down here. Initially I had Josh Bilicki in the dock 5,100, but I've talked about him just about every single week in the Xfinity series. At this point, you can play Josh Bilicki. I still endorse him fully, but I wanted to highlight somebody else, and somebody else that's even cheaper, actually. That could be another good play, and this might be a good week where paying up for Zilich at 12.5, you're going to need to find some cheap guys that are reliable. And Joey Gase is a guy that's pretty reliable. He's only $4,800. But as you look back through his log, he's not started every race this year. He's kind of cherry picking where he's starting, and it's really showing out. He's got one race where he scored just 4.5 points. Outside of that, it's been all pretty good runs for him. And main reason he's not starting well, that race, he started in 4th place. That's why he didn't score very many points. But otherwise, he starts 38th, 25th, 33rd, 36th, 34th, 37th. But he's just moving forward a little bit, much like Dean Thompson in a lower capacity, right? Just checking the boxes he needs to check, and he's getting results of 26th, 21st, 27th, 27th, 18th, 25th, 24th, 21st, getting the results that he needs. So yeah, at a price like this, he's a guy that I really like. Worldwide Technology, he raced last week, started dead last, 38th place. Love it. That's what I want out of a guy like this, right? Worked his way forward, got that 26th place finish. Nice, solid day. 27th at Indy, 27th at Iowa, 25th at Texas, 29th even at Miami is not a bad day. Phoenix a 28th place. Super Speedways, boy, he's actually been really good with some much better finishes, but he's performing and not losing spots. Not that there's really any spots to lose, but he's not even staying in the back. He's consistently moving forward just enough to kind of be paying off for where he's at, averaging 26.4 points per race. So yeah, Joey Gase at 4,800, a very good punt play, if you will, as you're trying to top heavy your lineup with some of these more expensive guys like Azilichu. You really do have to pay.
Yeah, no, I love that. Now I was going down the bottom of that list, and I was like, I like. But you know what, Cody, I got to jump back in the pool, man. It's still hot here in California. I got to jump back into the pool because this guy, I told you to play him last week. All he did was get you 42 fantasy points on $6,000 salary. So guess what? DraftKings has not changed the price. He's still $6,000. Brendan Poole in that 44 machine. Look at, he's had 4 straight top 15 finishes, right? 12th place at the Glen, 9th place the following week, 13th the next week after that, 14th last week. I mean, look, and what makes it even better is that he's had starting positions of 31st, 12th, 28th, and 27th, still finishing inside of the top 15, giving you fantasy points like 42, 45, 38, 50, 25. I mean, look, I'm not all that great at math, but I will say that it's very nice to see a guy like Brendan Poole scoring you so many fantasy points. And again, I always harken back to if you just go by the fantasy points per race, he is 5th overall in active drivers in fantasy points per race average. Like, we're talking 5th to guys that are let's see, let's scroll through some of these guys that he's better than. Harrison Burton, we just talked about. Dean Thompson, we just talked about. Carson Kvapil, Sammy Smith, Christian Eckes, Daniel Dye, Ryan Sieg, Brandon Jones, even Taylor Gray, even. I'm just telling you, it just, when you look at the guys that he's better than, your jaws dropped. You're like, oh my God, how did that even happen? So, like I said, I'm jumping in the pool again. I feel like this is another solid day for him. Earlier this year in Bristol, not good. He crashed out of that one, but I've read to you the last few finishes of this. It seems like they've turned this around in the 44 car, and $6,000 is not a high price to pay for a guy that's going to get you at least 30 some odd points in fantasy production. Because like Cody said with Joey Gase, I want him to start in the low 20s or the high 30s. Like, that's where I want, because I know that he's going to drive that car up to a nice solid finish, because he just does every single week. Average start of 26.0 this season, average finish of 18.2. So again, he's gaining you at least almost 10 full spots on the day every time he takes the track, and that's good in place differential, and it's good in finishing position. So for $6,000, I think it's a fine investment on a pool again, and go cool yourself off one more week.
Yeah, enjoy the pool before it gets too cold out, Rod. Yeah, I have no rebuttal to this. I think he's also a great play. There's plenty of good, cheap options. And if you kind of notice, usually it's these veteran guys, been around a long time. They know what they're there to do. They are under no illusions that they are going to have a winning car or a top 5 car or most of the time a top 10 car. They are aiming for 25th place finishes or 15th place finishes in pools, world. So that's what they're aiming for, and that's what they're good at, and they are just building those blocks, and that's what you need with guys like this at these low prices when you're trying to shove all the guys in at the top of the board.
All right, get out your pen and paper. We're going to go over our plays for this Food City 300. Cody started you off with Connor Zilich at $12,500 as his high price driver. I said Jesse Love at $10,000 would be my high price driver. Cody gave you Dean Thompson at $6,900 as his mid-tier driver. I gave you Harrison Burton at $7,500 as mine. Cody gave you Joey Gase at $4,800 as his low price driver. I said Brendan Poole at $6,000 is mine. All right, come back with some Cup Series action for the DFS world, which is why I know you're here. But first, let me tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is also a great place to play fantasy pick'em, where you can win up to 500 times your entry. Simply pick higher or lower on your favorite player's stats. It's got a ton of sports available to you. And again, like you know, I've given you a ton, but this is where they're playing with us, guys. Deebo Samuel, I've given him out every single day this week because I do love me some Deebo Samuel, and so do the Washington Commanders. But we started off with 3.5 rushing yards for Deebo Samuel. Then yesterday we went to 6.5 rushing yards. Now we're down to 4.5 again rushing yards for Deebo Samuel on the game. Look, Deebo rushed one time for 19 yards last week. I think he's going to get higher than 4.5 rushing yards this week against the Packers. That's tonight if you are listening right now on a Thursday. So make sure you go lock that in if you're listening live. If not, well, this is your reminder. You got to listen live because we give you plays like this, especially for Underdog. Plus, Underdog's got a brand new offer for customers. Play just $5. Get $50 in bonus funds when you sign up with our promo code RACESGPN. We're also brought to you by Novig. Novig is America's #1 sports prediction market. Since Novig is an exchange, you know you're getting some of the best prices in the market. Novig is available in 35 or more states. Download the Novig app and get $50 when you spend $5. If you use our promo code SGPN, get in on the action with Novig promo code SGPN. Let us turn our attention to the Cup race. It is the Bass Pro Shops night race at the Bristol Motor Speedway, set for 500 amazing laps around this 0.533 mile paved track for 266.500 miles. Cody, this is where we're going to have a little bit of probably a disconnect, but I'll have to have you listen to my point as we break this down.
No, I'm actually probably going to agree with you more than you think that Perfect. I will agree with you. So we'll go with that, and I think everybody knows where that's going. But we'll start with my high-priced driver first because that's how we roll, Rod. And to no surprise, I'm going to head over to the JGR camp, and I'm going to take Denny Hamlin, $11,000. Look, he's been on an absolute tear here lately. He is not even the highest priced guy on the slate. He's the second highest priced guy to one Kyle Larson, but he's been on fire, especially on the ovals down the stretch here, having a hell of a season. We all know what he's been doing, right? And he's been really fucking good at Bristol, really throughout his entire career, especially though in this next gen era. Ran second place here in the spring. He didn't lead any laps, which you're going to need in DFS. And to the Kyle Larson point that we're about to have the conversation here in a minute, he led a lot of fucking laps here. He basically led all the laps, and so nobody else had laps to lead. But Denny Hamlin ran second place to him all day long. Now you factor in the Captain Shook angle, which I do factor into my current predicting in NASCAR, and that vaults Denny Hamlin to the top spot. So you love to see that. Run second place all day. Easily could have led some laps. If Goodyear does hit this tire and it wears more, that just raises the bar for Denny Hamlin more and more, like it did in March of 2024, where he led 163 laps when we did have that tire gate race where the tires were crazy insane. There's nobody in the field it helps more than Denny Hamlin, who's already a driver at the top of his game in current form right now. Everything is great. So second here in the spring, ran second all day long. Fourth here in the fall last year. So yet another good run. Then I talked about leading 163 laps in March of 24. September of 23, led 142 laps. He won that day as well. Ninth place in the other running here in the next gen era. But he's had good races here throughout his entire career. He's won 2 of the last 4 races here, 4 top 5 finishes in a row. He's going to be a car that finishes near the front. He's going to be a car that's running near the front. Oh, by the way, he's coming into this race with no pressure. He's locked into the next round. He can just go out and do his thing. His thing's been pretty damn good here lately. Of course, coming off of the win last week at Worldwide Technologies there in St. Louis. Had a pretty good run going at Darlington with the 7th place finish. But you go back to some of these other recent ovals we've had, places like Indianapolis where he finished 3rd, Dover, closest comp track to Bristol, led 67 laps, won the race there, all in on the number 11 car, Rod. $11,000. Give me James Dennis Allen Hamlin.
I wholeheartedly agree with you on that one because I think I did have him as an outright winner anyway. So I mean, I you're gonna have to have some exposure to Hamlin because he is capable of going out and having the best DFS day out there. So can't argue with you on that one. But here's the thing, and this is the elefante in the room, right? Is you've got a guy like Kyle Larson. He is the most expensive driver on there. He's $11,500. He's Captain Shook. He has not done well lately. He's limping into this playoffs just as a driver that you would not expect to limp in as badly as he is. Captain Shook once again on our screen for those of you watching on YouTube. But as much as we stayed away from him in the betting episode, I feel like you would be remiss if you did not at least have 1 or 2 lineups with Kyle Larson in it because there's something about this track that just lights Kyle Larson up. Cody, you talked about it last week or last season rather. He won this race earlier in the spring, led 411 laps. The fall race of last year, 462 laps. What does that mean in terms of fantasy points? In the spring, 188 fantasy points for Kyle Larson. 188. He started 3rd, finished 1st, 85 fastest laps, 411 laps led. The next highest point score was Ross Chastain with 78, and that's only because he started 35th and finished in 7th. Ryan Blaney followed him with 70.8 points, starting 5th and finishing 5th. Okay, so 188. Daunting number, right? Well, let's go to the 2024 fall race, where he scored 197.95 fantasy points. Started 2nd, finished 1st, 81 fastest laps, led 462 laps. Chase Elliott was the next highest guy with 66.65 points. I mean, I'm not even going to sit here and bore you with the rest of the stats for Kyle Larson because they all sound the same, right? I mean, obviously he had a couple of the spring of 2024, 55.95 points, started 10th rather, finished 5th, 16 fast laps, only led 19 laps that day. Kyle Larson had 109 points in the 2023 Bristol race. Remember, there was only one that year because of the dirt race, but 109 points, the 3rd highest point total on the day. 20 laps led, 64 fastest laps, started 36th in that race, ended up finishing runner up. Kyle Larson got you 66 points in the 2022 race. So you're of one of 2 camps at this point. You're I'm never touching Kyle Larson again in any way, shape, or form, or
that should not be.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you 100%. But there are folks out there. I've seen in the Discord. I know exactly who I'm looking at. That will never.
I think some people might think that I am that person too, Rod.
No, you have to be responsible with how you do it. And this DFS is a responsible way to get in on Kyle Larson because if he comes out and scores 6,000 fantasy points on the day, you are absolutely thrilled. But if he doesn't, then you have another lineup somewhere that's not got Kyle Larson in it, and you're not exposed like you are in a betting aspect where if you got a top 5 on him and he finishes 6th, you're toast. Right here in DFS, if he comes out and gets you 188 points, you're fine. If he gets you 66 points, you're disappointed, but you're probably still fine. there's a more the cushion for your fall is greater with DFS than it is with betting. So I like Kyle Larson in this spot, even though it's scary.
Yeah, so I have a lot of thoughts here. I've seen a lot of Kyle Larson love this week. I've personally had some Kyle Larson hate. So this is great. Thank you for setting this up for me because I have a lot of thoughts, more thoughts on your pick now than I'm going to have on most of your picks. A couple of things. I do think that Kyle Larson is the greatest race car driver in the world right now. That is active race car driver. He's not the greatest of all time at this point in time, but he is the current greatest. He gets into all these things. He does well, all that stuff. Now, he currently is shook. He has been shook. Preston, cue the meme up, right? Since he threw the middle finger or the hands up, whatever he was doing when Scotty Mack wrecked out on the parade lap at the Indy 500, that was his bite out of the poison apple, and things have not been the same for him, and that's what we've seen. So a couple of things. Obviously, DFS is much different than betting, like you said. And I said this in Discord earlier. Kyle Larson could go out. He could lead every single lap of this race. Second place could finish 11 laps down. And I would not be sad that I do not have a Kyle Larson ticket this week because I think the price is ridiculous for a guy who's been the best Chevrolet in the field once in the last 8 races. That's it. That's crazy to me. On the DFS side of things, there's a couple of different ways to look at this. He's going to be highly popular. Everybody and their fucking brother is on him already. Everybody's looking at it. He led 450 laps. He led 450 laps, which I get, right? You can't miss out on that or you're going to miss out. What I would say is if he starts in the top 5, he's a must play in DFS. I think you have to play him. If he starts outside the top 5, like he did here in March of 2024, he started in 10th, finished in 5th, led 19 laps. You don't need him. Like he started in 36th back in 2023 in the September race, led 20 laps. Now he did finish second. I guess if he starts 36th, maybe you consider playing him. But a lot of times when he starts bad, he doesn't finish well either. He started 5th here in September of 2022, led 34 laps, and he finished 5th. That's not the greatest of days. And that kind of tracks throughout him just in a general sense. A lot of times when he doesn't start well, he doesn't do well. We saw him do well last week at Gateway, right? He looked good. He looked fast. He led 52 laps because he started up front. He started in second, but he ended up finishing 12th. Captain Shook got to him, right? He led 52 laps last week. He led 19 laps at the Brickyard 400. You got to go all the way back to Kansas in May, previous to his double attempt, by the way, when he led 221 laps the last time. That's the most times he's led more than 50 laps other than last week. There's a lot of zeros on here. In a lot of tracks where he should be really good, comp tracks like Dover, he started 25th, finished 4th. You'll take that for DFS because it's a lot of place differential, but he didn't lead a single lap that day. So my advice is if he starts top 5, we're probably going to see a pretty good day from him. I think you're going to have to find a way to get him in there and play him. If he doesn't start top 5, have him in some lineups because he's been amazing here, and I'm not discounting that. But he's been pretty shook lately at tracks where he shouldn't be shook, tracks where he should be good. He's not gotten good finishes. And even a place like Iowa, where he started in 3rd place, he led no laps and finished 28th. He wasn't good that day. Not playing him is going to set you apart. Not playing him also exposes you to the possibility he could lead 450 laps and you don't have him. So I think there's a strong case for both sides here. And if he does start in the top 5, there's a good chance, again, it'll depend how the lineup shakes out and where people are at and how you work it with your budget. But if he starts in the top 5, I'm going to be much more inclined to play him than if he starts anywhere else in the field. If he's worse than 25th, you're probably going to have to look harder at him because place differential. But if he's kind of in the mid pack there, I'm not going to touch him. I'm going to leave him alone. If he beats me, he beats me. I'm fine with that. So obviously, very great at this track. Great track history here, especially in the next gen era. And he's a great driver. I'm not taking that away from him. But we talk about it often. When people are off, they're off. And you got to follow these trends. That's why we fade guys. That's why we get away from guys for periods of time. I'm doing it right now with Ty Gibbs. I haven't touched him in a long time because there's been nothing to touch there, Rod. And there's a reason for that. And it's the same with Kyle in a different capacity. He's run better than Gibbs, obviously, but he's also much more respected in the books and in the DFS prices. So hopefully that kind of just explains to you the thinking on where I'm at least on both sides of Kyle Larson, because it can be there. He could go out and lead 450 laps and win this race. And I'm not going to be surprised in any way, shape, or form because we know he can do it. He's done it the last 2 times we've been here. But there's that other side of things that we've seen for the last 3-4 months. So
yeah, just to put one bow on this, Kyle Larson still through all of the shookedness, third overall in fantasy points per race, 41.7 behind Elliott and Hamlin, above William Byron. And then even in that day where he got you 66 points, he was still the 5th highest point scorer on the day with 66. And then the day where he started 36 and finished second, ended up with 109. That was the 3rd best output of the day. So I know it's polarizing.
yeah, and I do think his average is heavily swayed by massive days. You look back at Bristol in the spring, you look back at Kansas in the spring. He's had some really big fucking days that do mess with the average a little bit. But we know how he is. Like, and even when he's dead on, he's always a big risk. There's a big risk side because he steps on it more than any other driver because, well, he's got the biggest one to step on when it comes to racing because he's really fucking good. So
Indeed. All right. We spent a whole lot of time on Kyle Larson. Let's get to our next drivers.
We did. But I think it was warranted. So we'll breeze through the rest of these guys. AJ Allmendinger, you know to play him. You always play AJ Allmendinger. $6,600, Rod. He's AJ Allmendinger. I don't really know that I have to give you too much more than just that. But I will anyways. 18.4 average finish in the next gen era here in this car. Back in the spring, started in 8th place, finished in 9th place, ran up front basically all day. Good runs there. Couple of 23rds, a 30th, but the first next gen start here, a 7th place run for him there, with Colleague kind of bridging the, when Colleague was decent in Cup through the times they weren't so good, back to the time when they're all pretty decent again right now. So you like that, but I would have liked to see a better day last week, but at Gateway, but 2 weeks ago at Darlington, he came through big for us. We cashed that top 5 bet. Starting in 22nd and finishing in 5th place. He's a very good driver. Wrecked out at Dover. Again, comp track you'd like to have seen better. But we've seen plenty of good days from AJ Allmendinger. You're bringing him to a track that's tough. Tire wear, if that comes into it, I like that for AJ this week as well. $6,600. He is my lower side of the mid.
I definitely like AJ Allmendinger, especially because a lot of people are starting to get on him, but I don't think enough to where it's going to mean there's a run on AJ Allmendinger. So absolutely love it. I think somebody that some folks might be staying away from, and maybe not for good reason, is Ryan Preece. Obviously, from a betting aspect, very hard to decide what to do with him because top 10s are out of the question. It's tough for all these other people that are there. So I know that we had. Thank you. Sorry. The dust in this room just kind of got up there. But yeah, so 2 of the drivers that we were talking to earlier are in ours. Yeah, Preece for sure. He is $7,000. He's 7th overall in fantasy points per race this season, as far as the average is concerned, 35.3 overall. What's he done on this track? Well, in the spring, he got you 36 fantasy points, started 29th, ended up finishing in 2nd, 9 fast laps on the day. It was actually the 14th best fantasy point output of the day, which again, for a guy that's the price that he is, right? At $7,000, you'll take the 14th best on the day for that. How about in 2024 in the fall? Well, Ryan Preece finished with the 7th overall best score, 46.7, started 14th, finished 7th, had 6 fastest laps. The spring race of 2024, Ryan Preece was the 13th best fantasy point scorer on the day, 41.35 points in that one. And then Ryan Preece was the 11th overall best scorer in the fall, or the only concrete race of 2023, where he got you 37.35. All of those days, right? Those are all of his pretty much track history on this track overall. And all good, solid fantasy days for a $7,000 price. You're talking 30, 40, 50 points in some cases. It's just a nice, solid day for him. And he does that for you all season long, which is why he's remained consistent. He got you 49 points last week, 38 the week before that, 48 the week before that, 2 on the Cookout 400. Unfortunately, that was not a good day for him, but 34, 69, 65, 16, 39, 37, 19, 41. Some pretty solid numbers from Ryan Preece this season. Betting makes you want to pull your hair out. DFS wins you money.
Yeah, I like it. I got no argument. RFK we've seen be really good in the next gen era here. Chris Buescher's gotten the win here. Brad Keselowski has run really well as well. So Priest has been a little bit quieter than he was earlier on the season, but still been strong, so no arguments there. I'm going to stick in the Ford camp, at least for now. They're going to be Chevy team next year, Rod. But I'm going to go over to Haas Factory team and jump on Cole Custer as my cheap driver, $5,100. You know, I was looking at the bottom of the board here, trying to find guys, and I was like, man, Cole Custer is pretty cheap for what he is capable of doing for you, and that's just having a solid day, much like a Joey Gase we talked about earlier or a Josh Bilicki. He kind of just goes out and runs his race and has good days. You don't really get many negative point days from him. It's just pretty solid. Last week at Gateway, starts 29th, finishes 27th, 17 points. You'd like a little bit more, but the consistency's there, and he's got some upside. Daytona, obviously, 68.1 points was a great day. You're not probably going to get that, but Brickyard 400, 32.5 points. You can have good days like that. 23.5 points, 54 points from him. You go back 34.5 points. He's had some pretty strong days, and he's just a guy that's not going to qualify very well. It's probably going to be late, back. What am I trying to say? The back of the 20s? I don't know. Okay. Late 20s. He's going to be in his late 20s. How old is Cole Custer? He looks
definitely
like he's
not
50. But, yeah, not late 20s, but he's going to start in the late 20s, Ron, and that's what we're looking for. And then he's going to finish mid to front 20s, and that's kind of what you're looking for. Does have a little bit of upside potential here. Last fall in this very race, he finished 11th place after starting, or finished 8th place rather after starting in 11th place. That was a great DFS day there. His other results, it's a mixed bag, but 29th, 28th, that's kind of what you expect. You know, in the spring here, started 33rd, finished 29th. It's a decent enough day for a guy this cheap. You're not getting a Cody Ware or a Chad Fincham. You know, is Fincham, I don't remember if he's in the 60. I think he's in the 66. Like, is that car going to hold up? Is it going to get there? Custer's at least got a little bit. It's not much, but a little bit of an ability to move that car forward and have a decent day. And the upside of finishing in 8th place like he did last year. Obviously, that was with Stuart Haas, but also in their swan song, things were winding down. Now he's the only guy over there. And I get the, switching from Ford to Chevy, some stuff's going to be shut off, but do we think they were getting a lot of Ford info before? Probably not. Anyways, might not be much of a difference. So give me Cole Custer at $5,100 for a cheap guy. It's going to have a decent day for you and has upside of an 8th place finish like he did.
Yeah, for Cole Custer, you really just are hoping that he finishes, right? And finishes somewhat close to where he starts and maybe get you a few spots up in there. But yeah, I like it, especially as a punt play, because there are going to be a lot of expensive guys that you want to fit up there. So can't hate that one as well. I am going to go to Justin Haley, $5,700 rather, for Justin Haley. At $5,700, if he got you 37.8 points like he did in the spring, you would be very happy with that output. I talked about Ryan Preece, right, being the 14th best point scorer that day. Justin Haley was the 13th best point scorer, and that was his first one in the 7 car for Spire. Started 10th, finished 13th, had 24 fastest laps in that one, did Justin Haley. And then the race before that, he finished with the 19th most points, 26.7, which again, when you're talking about these guys in the $5,000 and $6,000 range, still to finish in the top 20 as far as fantasy points scored, you like that. That's actually a pretty decent day. Justin Haley, the 12th highest scorer in the spring of 2024, finishing one spot better than Ryan Preece, who we just discussed, 43.7 points that day. Started 32nd, finished 17th, had 6 fastest laps. Justin Haley lost you points in 2023, so throw that one out. That's the outlier, right? But Justin Haley got you 39.8 points, the 13th most points in the 2022 Bristol race. So somewhere in the top 15 in all but one of his, 2, but in the top 20 of the fantasy point range in those races for Justin Haley. And at $5,700, you really, really like that. We know that Spire's been pretty fast lately. We know that there's drivers that are being touted, but Justin Haley's just been quietly getting it done for you on a fantasy point, fantasy points wise. And I think he continues that streak this week and gets you another nice day there at Bristol.
Not a guy I want to say good things about right now, but I know
he's a lot like other drivers in my book that I don't ever want to say anything nice about. So, all right, get out your pen and paper. We're going to go over our DFS plays for this Food City Night Bristol race, this Bass Pro Shops night race. Food City is the Xfinity. It's the end of the week, Cody. We have reached it. We have reached the point where words become hard.
Food City, also the spring race
Fancy.
for Cup. So I'll give you a break.
I don't want to be labeled as somebody who doesn't know.
And Food City's been one of those that's like, I remember playing like the 2003 video game, and like it was the Food City 500. It's been the Food City race we don't have a lot of like race title sponsors that have stayed the same. Honestly, I don't know that I can think of one I mean, Coca-Cola 600, obviously. Yeah, Save Mart has always been kind of the Sonoma thing. But even, big races like the Coke Zero Sugar 400 was once the Pepsi 400 for a long time. Some of those ones have changed, but Food City been around a long time. So I think Food City's a grocery store. We don't have any up here, but I'm sure it's a great grocery store.
I will find one and shop there when I'm in the area. All right, get out your pen and paper. Go over our DFS plays. Cody started you off with Denny Hamlin at $11,000 as his high price driver. I said, go ahead, take the bite. Take Kyle Larson, $11,500. You're going to have to in some capacity somewhere. Cody gave you AJ Allmendinger at $6,000 or $6,600 rather as his mid-tier driver. I gave you Ryan Preece at $7,000 for mine. Cody gave you Cole Custer at $5,100 for his low price driver. I gave you Justin Haley at $5,700 as mine. Cody, trucks have already wrapped it up and getting ready to put themselves on the track in a couple of hours. Xfinity next day, and then of course Saturday night under the lights for the Cup.
Yeah, don't forget Cup Series Saturday night, Xfinity Friday night. Obviously, if you're listening to this live, the truck starts in like less than 2 hours. So get those lineups in. I'll be actually, as soon as we're off here, I'm going to go head over to DK and send out the Truck Series invitation for everyone in the Discord so you can get in and build those Truck Series lineups now that the regular lineup is set.
All right. Well, then we will see you next week as we bid you adieu for a fun weekend of racing at Bristol. And until then, everybody, let's have some fun and build some great lineups.
Yeah, looking forward to Christopher Bell week next week in New Hampshire, Rod. Cannot wait for that. So, best of luck to everybody this week at Bristol. Enjoy all the racing. Enjoy all the football. Enjoy. It's just a beautiful time in sports right now. Gotta love all of it. Best luck to everybody. Follow me over on the X-Rod at Husker_Zeeb. Article after article after article coming out. I got the college football upset parlay article out. NFL props articles out. Preview for tonight's Thursday night football game is out. Ton more previews coming out. Ton more all sorts of content coming out. So check it all out over there at Husker_Zeeb. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, 6-7, all the fun things the kids say. And
two things Cody told me he didn't do well when we first met: podcasting and writing. Two things that Cody is crushing.
I did not do well. I didn't do it all.
That is very true. But two things Cody is crushing right now: podcasting and writing. So make sure you support him as well. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio to all the stuff I've got going on, whether that includes the game previews and, of course, in between media. Go check out Seth and Elliot tonight or already up on their YouTube channel as they break down Bristol for you as well. Back for New Hampshire next week. So until then, good luck, everybody. Love you all. And let's go racing and let it ride.